Can you hear me?
Good evening, sir.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening. So we'll start the discussion. Okay. I have not yet completed checking your grading your answer sheets. So most probably by Friday I will complete. Okay. I will show you the marks on Friday. Let me share my screen. Recording has started. So we will first upload this material. Otherwise later we will forget. Why is it so slow? Under 7 has uploaded 2 times. Okay. So we were discussing about finite volume method. Can you see the screen?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. So if there is any discontinuity in the internet connection, please let me know, because network connection is poor for the last many days actually. Then I will shift to my personal internet connection. So we were discussing about finite volume method, and we have seen the basics of finite volume method, how to discretize for a 1D conduction problem with the system. Just hold on for a second. That's important. I'm sorry. So we'll continue. Just let me switch off this mobile SIM. Okay. So we had discussed about different aspects of finite volume discretization for a simple problem, starting with the diffusion term and the source term. Okay, starting with the diffusion and the source term, ignoring the unsteady term and convection term. The convective term is somewhat more complex to tackle. Unsteady term is not very difficult, as we will see later. For source term, and please switch off your mic. Somebody's mic is on. For source term and diffusive term, we have derived the form of the equation which look like this. Let me check. It is not in this one. Maybe some previous class. Yes. Just to remind you again, because this is the pattern that we are going to follow. So APTP equal to AT plus AWTW plus B, where P is the concerned grid point. Okay, for any grid point P, we can represent that temperature based on its neighboring values. If it is a 1D problem, we have 2 neighboring values. 2D problem, 4 neighboring values. For a structured grid, for unstructured grid, the number of neighbors may vary. Okay, it can be 4, 5, 6, 3 if it's a triangular grid. Okay, and then there is a source term which contains all the other terms. So this is the form of the discretized equation. Whatever is the initial equation, ultimately we want to form this type of equation. So this is even true for later on when we study about convection or unsteady term also. And even with source term also, we have seen that the form of the equation is same, but the coefficients vary. Means this B and the AP may vary and include the source term. Okay. So means source term which is dependent on temperature. Then we have seen some aspects, different aspects of finite volume discretization. One is some of the basic rules like physical consistency of fluxes. Then all the coefficients should be positive, things like that. And second is that how to tackle nonlinear source term. That also we have seen in the previous class, which we discussed as linearization of source term. And in the previous class, we have discussed about how to take variable conductivity. Okay, if the conductivity is varying, how to tackle that at the interface. So these are some of the other aspects which are needed to form the discretized equation. Once you know how to do all these things, you will be able to form the discretized equation in the form that I have just shown now, in this form. Okay, all the values will be known. AP, AE and AW will be known because you know now how to calculate KE, KW, all these terms, and also how to treat S. Okay, how to linearize the source term. So what we are going to do, we are going to see some of the more things that are necessary for writing a code in for finite volume method, for a simple finite volume method. And some of these things are related with discretization, and once we know how to everything is covered for discretization, we will see how to solve the discretized equations. So once you know how to solve the discretized equation, you are ready to write a code for a finite volume method. Okay, and I will upload some. I am telling for the last few weeks already that I will upload some assignment. But once you know how to solve the equations, then I will upload the assignment so that you can start writing the codes. Okay. So one of these things that we have not yet discussed is how to tackle the boundary conditions. For internal grid points, we know how to calculate or how to do all the calculations such as say calculating the interface conductivity, treating the source term, then finding out all the coefficients. The only thing that is left is what will happen when we go to the boundary grid points. How to tackle or how to take into account the boundary information, because you will know already some boundary condition. Some boundary condition will be given for the equation, and that needs to be part of the solution. That information needs to be passed so that that is taken into account while solving the equation. Okay. So now the boundary conditions can be of different types, as you already know. Even for heat transfer course also you must have studied. We can have known value of temperature or the variable. We are representing here in terms of temperature, but it can be any variable phi. It can be velocity u or v. It can be say the concentration C or any other variable. Okay, any other variable for which we are solving. So the values can be given. Okay, or the second option is that instead of the value some flux is given. Flux means flux of so for heat transfer flux is the heat flux. For mass transfer the mass flux can be given. Similarly momentum flux can be given. Okay, or it can be represented in terms of some type of convective condition, as we will see later. Okay, so these are the three main types by which a boundary condition can be given at the boundary. Okay, so let us see how to tackle this type of boundary condition. It's not very difficult. It's just Remember that ultimate objective is still to define the discretized equation of this form. APTP is equal to AET plus AWTW plus B. Okay. So this is our ultimate aim. So to do this, we have to find the coefficient AP, AE, AW and B. Okay. So for the boundary points, maybe the value of these coefficients will be different, but our equation needs to be in the same form so that we can pass on these coefficients to the solver, means the solution algorithm that we are going to design. So let us consider the case where this example one, where the values itself are given at the boundary. Okay. So for x equal to 0, t equal to t, and say x equal to L, t equal to TB. Known values of temperature are given. Okay. Just hold for a second. So, all right. So now, if you consider any of these grid points which are neighboring to the boundary grid point, for example, this 2 grid point. Okay, and if we write the discretized equation for this 2 grid point, we will have some equation of this form: A2T2 equal to A3T3 plus A1T1, considering that these 2 points, grid points, are at the boundary. Okay, plus A1T1 plus B. Okay, this is the form of the equation. You can try to derive, and because T1 here is already known, this entire A1 T1 term is known, and we can just put it in the source term B. Okay, we can modify the source term as B dash, and our equation will become A2 T2 equal to A3 T3 plus B dash. Okay, so basically for this grid point 2, when we write the equation, the east neighboring value AET is present, but AW we are going to take as 0 in the when solving the equation. AW we are going to take as 0, and whatever known term was there, it is already there in the source term. So we can pass on this information to the solution algorithm, which we will study later. That A2 is equal to this value, A3 is equal to known value, A1 equal to 0, and B dash is equal to some known value. Okay, and we can solve the equation. So this is similar to this form only, with AW equal to 0. So there is no problem while solving this equation. Same thing can be used for the other side also. Here the AE term will become equal to 0, because whatever known term is there, AET, that will just go into the source term. So no problem will be there for tackling this type of boundary condition. Any questions on this? Let us consider the second type of boundary condition. Yes, any question?
No, sir.
Okay. Let us consider the second type of boundary condition where the flux is given at the boundary. So as we are considering the energy equation, in this case the heat flux is given, but again the same thing is true for mass flux or any other flux. Okay, flux means some value of this form minus k dt dx is given. This value is known. Say heat flux equal to 10 watt per meter square, something like that is given at this boundary, or at one of the boundaries, or at some boundary. Okay. So in this case, what we can do is we can consider one half control volume for this grid point 7. Okay. For the grid point 6, we have the full control volume. Okay. So this is an overlapping control volume, overlapping half control volume for the grid point 7. Okay. For the grid point 6, the blue control volume is there, but this hashed control volume that I am showing, going from 6 to 7, is a half control volume corresponding to grid point 7. Okay. So if we write the equation d dx of k dt dx plus s equal to 0 and integrate over this half control volume, okay, similar to the way we have done for any of the finite volume equations previously. So we are going from this point to this point. Okay, so going from 6 to 7, t dx of k dt dx dx plus 6 to 7 s into dx if there is a source term s. Okay. So if you do this, you are left with k dt dx at 7 minus k dt dx at 6 plus S into this length, which is delta x by 2. Okay, S into delta x by 2. Assuming that S is constant. Okay, variable S also we can easily tackle, but we are not going into the, because this is not important for us now. We are just trying to see how to incorporate this boundary condition. So what is k dt dx at 7? The heat flux q is minus k dt dx at this boundary, right? So heat flux q, which is a known quantity, q double dash, is minus k dt dx at 7. Okay, so I can just replace this k dt dx at 7 as minus q double dash, and this k dt dx at 6 I can write as, for this control volume, remember for this half control volume we are doing, so I can write as minus k T7 minus T6 by delta x by 2. Okay, for this half control volume. Assuming piecewise linear assumption within this control volume for the conductivity. Okay, plus the S into delta x by 2. You can assume other types of profile assumption also, going from 7 to 5 or something like that, but this is the easiest way. So once you do that, again you have the same form of the equation. Okay, so this q double dash we can just couple with the, because this is a known quantity, okay, we can put together with the source term in that b dash. Okay, and I can write the equation as a7 t7. Let me just reduce the size a little bit. For this grid point 7 as a7 t7 equal to a8 t8 plus a6 t6 plus b dash. There is no a8 t8 term. Okay, there is no 8 or coefficient 8 or t8 term is not there. So basically this is 0. So basically a7 t7 is equal to a6 t6 plus b dash, where this b dash contains this known term as delta x by 2 and this q double dash term minus q double dash, and a6 is the coefficient of t6 which is known in terms of these values k and delta x by 2, and a7 also is known in terms of k and delta x by 2. Okay, so we have written in the same form as our APTP equal to AT plus AWTW plus B, but the only difference here is that you have one extra equation for this boundary. In this case, the last equation was for the adjacent point to the boundary, because we did not need any equation for this 7. If for last point would have been for 6, okay, like what we have done here. So AT22 equal to A3T3 plus B dash. Okay, we don't need any equation for 1 because it was known. So our number of our equations started from point 2. In this case, if the heat flux is given at 1, we will have one additional equation. A1T1 is equal to A2T2 plus B dash. Okay. So the number of equations will be higher. Okay, we need the equation for the boundary grid point also. But otherwise, the treatment is same. Once you know what are the values, how to calculate the coefficient, you can again send this coefficient to the solver, A7, A6 and B dash, and you can just solve the equation. Okay. Ultimately what we are doing is we are writing, if you go back to our finite discretized like FDM method, okay, a finite difference method, sorry, in that case we have seen that we form equation of this type, okay, in the finite difference method. So a ti minus 1 k plus 1 plus b ti k plus 1 plus a ti plus 1 k plus 1 equal to k, some form of this form, some type like this we were forming, where we can write all the coefficients in a matrix and all the unknown values of temperature in a vector, and all the known coefficients on the other side, other known coefficients. These coefficients are also known, these coefficients are also known. So by matrix inversion or some other method like Thomas algorithm or Gaussian elimination, we can find out all the temperature values. Same thing we are doing here. When we are writing this values APTP equal to AET plus AWTW plus B. Okay. So this AP, AE and AW are the coefficients which will come in this matrix. In this matrix. What is this? Content preparation editor. Which will come in this matrix, and the B values will come in this matrix, in this vector. All the B values, B2, B3, B4, B5, all these values. And all the unknown temperature values will come in this vector. Okay, and again we can just solve them. So our aim is to find all the coefficients AP, AE, AW and the B values which are here. So this is how you can tackle the any flux that is given. So if the problem is adiabatic, if the wall is adiabatic, what will you do? It is just one form of this heat flux, Q double dash equal to 0. Okay. So basically this term will become equal to 0 and you can again, the form is same. So only thing is that Q double dash is just one special case of the heat flux condition. Adiabatic condition means that heat flux equal to 0. So you take just Q double dash equal to 0 and you will be able to solve this equation. Okay. Questions on this? If there are any confusion, please let me know. Okay. Ultimately, once you try to solve this equation or by hand, means once you try to write an algorithm and try to code this, the problems will become more clear. Okay. So the third type of boundary condition is where you have a convective type of boundary condition given. Okay. Heat flux is not directly given. Means Q double dash is not directly given. It is given in terms of some heat transfer coefficient and some outside temperature value. Say at this point 8, okay, K dt dx at this means at x equal to L, which is that boundary point 8, is equal to some convective heat transfer. H into T8 means T at this point x equal to L minus some faraway temperature T infinity. Okay, where H is the heat transfer coefficient, convective heat transfer coefficient. So K dt dx at x equal to L is equal to H Tx minus Tx equal to L minus T infinity. This is somewhat more general as compared to this because this temperature Tx equal to L also comes into the picture, means it comes as part of the boundary condition. Here everything was known at the boundary. Here this is an unknown term. Okay. This T at x equal to L is not known, which is T8. So T8 is not known. Okay. This is an unknown term. So one unknown term is present as part of the boundary condition and needs to be solved while solving the governing equation. Okay. So one unknown temperature is present in the boundary condition. And this temperature can vary with time or with outside condition. So in this case again, up till this point, there is no difficulty. When you write this minus, like after this discretization, you can write it as minus Q double dash at x equal to L, okay, minus K T8 minus T7 here because we have eight number of grid points instead of 7. So T8 minus T7 by delta x by 2 plus S delta x by 2 equal to 0. This is the same as this one. Okay. Now instead of Q double dash x equal to L as a known quantity, what we are going to do is we are going to replace this by this term. Okay. So minus Q double dash x equal to L is equal to this. We have to check whether it is, yes, it is correct. Okay. So this is H T8 minus T infinity. Okay. H T8 minus T infinity. And this part is again the same as this part, and this part also is known. Okay. So again, now you can write this as some coefficient A8 dash or A8, whatever. I am put dash because this form of the coefficient is defined. A8 dash T8 equal to A7 T7 plus B dash. Okay. Where this A8 dash has this term, this coefficient 2K delta x, similar to this coefficient that was present here. But some additional also coefficient also comes into picture because of this known convective heat transfer coefficient H. Okay. So that's why this form of the coefficient is different. A7 T7 is a known coefficient and B dash also. The form of the B dash is different. It also has this S delta x by 2 term, but additional term H and T infinity. Some function of H and T infinity also comes into this. So again, all these terms are, all these coefficients are known. A dash is known, A7 is known, B dash is known, or they can be calculated because they are functions of known quantity H, K, delta x and S. Okay. So our equation again is similar to this form, APTP equal to AET plus AWTW plus B. Okay. where this AET term is not present for this grid point 8. This eastern neighbor is not present. The western neighboring point is present. So we can write this as A8 T8 equal to A9 T9, where A9 is equal to 0, plus A7 T7, where A7 we can calculate, and plus B8, okay, equal to 0. Only thing is that values of A8 and B are different because of the convective heat transfer coefficient. Okay. Otherwise, it is of the same form, and again it can be put in this format, like you can see here, okay, with different value of B and different value of AP, and this will become AP and this will become AW. Okay. If you don't remember or don't understand right now, you can just try to write on your own by hand and you will understand. This will become AP, this will become AW, and there is no AE term, okay, present, and this will become the boundary grid point term, TN in this case. You can try to write this. So these are the three types of boundary conditions, and you know how to tackle them now using this boundary value, finite volume formulation. Okay, so any of this type of boundary condition you should be able to tackle, and this is true for even more complex situation where we have unsteady term or convective heat transfer term. The boundary condition is given in some form like this, okay, and you can use the same formulation. Any questions up to this point? So, yes, questions?
No, sir.
Okay. So till this point, what we know, again, let us go back to this equation. APTP equal to AET plus AWTW plus B. Okay, for a grid structure like this. For a grid structure like this, we have an equation like this: APTP equal to AET plus AWTW plus B. Okay. So in the last few classes, we have seen how to calculate these coefficients AP, AE, AW, and B. For calculating the coefficients, we have to be somewhat careful, because we have seen that if we take or if we are not careful while calculating this value at the interface KE, KW, etc., then it may cause some problem. So we need to know how to calculate KE, KW, all these values, and how to also take the temperature profile to calculate the fluxes. That also we have seen. How to treat the nonlinear source term, that also we have seen. And now we have seen how to tackle the grid points at the boundary. Okay. So till this point, we are now comfortable, or we should be comfortable, if we have some practice, we should be comfortable to write the discretized equation for all the grid points. Okay. So you have, say, let me just go back to our problem like this. Say you have a problem like this, where there is a one-dimensional plate or rod or bar, okay, with some boundary condition. Any boundary condition is given at the two boundaries, and it's a one-dimensional heat conduction equation with some source term, steady state equation. So now we know how to so what we will do, we will divide this geometry into certain number of control volumes. In this case, we have divided into 5 internal control volumes. So 5 internal grid points will be there, then 2 boundary grid points are there. Okay, so total 7 number of grid points. And for each grid point, we should be able to write now the discretized equation based on the discussion that we have done in the last few classes. Okay, so all the internal grid points we know how to tackle. Okay, and the boundary grid points we have seen how to tackle today. Okay, depending on the boundary condition, say if these two values are known, then you will have 5 equations and 5 unknowns. These 5 equations corresponding to T2, T3, T4, T5, T6. So this temperature is known, but here heat flux is given. Then you will have 6 equations and 6 unknown. Okay, T2, T3, T4, T5, T6, and 1 equation corresponding to T7 also will be there. Okay, 6 equations, 6 unknown. Similarly, if convective heat transfer is given, then also same thing will happen. If all the seven, if both sides we have heat flux type of condition, then ultimately we have 7 equations and 7 unknown. Okay, and we can express this in a matrix form, like we have done for the finite difference equations, where all the coefficients will come into this into this matrix, coefficient matrix. All the unknown temperature will come into this temperature vector, and all these B values, B2, B3, B4, B5, etc., will come into this right hand side. Means we can just take them to the other side. All they are already in the other side, so we will just write. So for A2 we will write this as B2. Okay, for A3 we will write this as B3. All the B values are different. So I can just modify this equation in this form. Let me just so I can just modify this equation. So what is our equation? General equation is these are very important. Okay, so please let me know, because otherwise if you don't understand anything, otherwise you will not be able to write the code. So we have derived of this form APTP, sorry. Okay, so APTP, difficult to write here, is equal to AET plus AW TW plus B. So we have seen how to tackle the internal grid points as well as the boundary grid points. Okay, so if I have a domain like this, where I have divided into some number of control volumes, okay, so this very difficult to draw. So this is my grid point here, grid point at the boundary 1, then this is 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I am deliberately going slow here so that you know how to write the code. Okay. So 7 internal points and 2 boundary grid points, right? 7 internal points and 2 boundary grid points, the way we have discretized. So 7 internal control volumes. Okay. So our equations in general, if we assume that even the boundary point temperatures are not known, our equations will be of this form. Okay, A1 T1 is equal to A2 T2 plus A0 T0 is there is no term. Okay, plus B1. Then similarly we have A2 T2 is equal to A3 T3 plus A1 T1. Sorry, these values coefficients are different. So how will we distinguish this? May or may not be different. Okay, it's not correct to write A2 T2 because the coefficients can become in general they will be same, but they can be different. Means this A2 can be different from this A2 if our discretization is, if we are not very consistent. Okay, otherwise in general they will be same. A2 T2 equal to A3 T plus A1 T1 plus B2. Okay. Then like this you go on. You have AN minus 1 is equal to AN Tn, AN minus 1 Tn minus 1 is equal to AN Tn plus An minus 2 Tn minus 2, where n is the last point. Okay, plus Bn minus 1. Here n is equal to 9, and ultimately you have An is equal to An Tn is equal to An minus 1 Tn minus 1 plus Bn. Okay. There is no An plus 1 Tn plus 1 term. So this will be our set of equations. Okay, this we can easily express in the matrix form. We have n equations. Here we have 9 equations. So I can just take these terms to the other side, in this side. And so our coefficient matrix will look something like this. For the first term, again my drawing is very awkward here. Lines are becoming slanted. But you will understand what we are trying to do. Okay. So first equation is, first unknown is T1. Then we have T2, like this we go on. Tn minus 1 and Tn. Okay. Similarly, in this side we have B1, B2 and Bn. Okay. And in this side we have the coefficient. So A1 T1 plus it is equal to, or we can take this to the other side, minus A2 T2. Okay. So the second coefficient will be minus A2. Then there is no term for T3. Okay. There is no term corresponding to T3. So all the other terms are 0. Like this. So in the next equation, we have minus A1 T1. So minus A1 plus A2 T2. So this will be A2 minus A3 plus 0, 0, 0 like this. Okay. Then for the next term, this is 0 minus A2, A3. This form of this may become different. So what I am saying is that this A2 may be slightly different from this A2. You have to check. But all these coefficients will be known values. Okay. Minus A4, 0, 0 like this. You can just go on. All the coefficients will be known values. N minus 1 minus N minus 1 like this. Okay. And now you can just solve it. So this entire thing is known. Entire values are known. This is also known. So either you can do matrix inversion. I can write this as A T equal to B, and I can write T is equal to A inverse B. Okay. So or you can use some other method to solve this. So this is the basic idea. So that's why we are trying to find the coefficients till now. Okay. Same thing we have already discussed for finite difference method. Exactly. So it does not matter whether you are using finite difference or finite volume method. So whatever method we are using for discretization, that is only for finding the coefficients. Once the coefficients are obtained, you just go to the solver, you pass the coefficient to the solver. The solver may be same whether it's finite difference or finite volume method. The solution algorithm is independent of that discretization method. Okay. So that is the idea. Any questions up to this point? We will come back to the solution. We will come back to the solution. I just wanted to give you a brief idea about how the solution process, but this is not the most optimum solution algorithm. We will come back to better ways of solving. Yes, somebody is trying to ask some question. I think no. Oh, again wrong. Let me just once again just repeat to finalize. Okay. What we are trying to do is we are just trying to find all these coefficients AP, AE, AW, which are nothing but A1, A2, A3 like this. So for T1, AP is A1 and AE is A2, and there is no AW. For T2, AP is A2, AE is A3, and AW is A1. Okay. So just we are trying to find all the coefficients in terms of known values like conductivity, delta X means geometrical parameters which you obtained after meshing, conductivity which you can interpolate, source terms also which we know how to linearize. So in terms of all known variables, we are trying to find the coefficients, and then we will just pass the coefficients to the solver to find the solution. Now the solver, how you develop, that is an entirely different thing. That can be a different part or different program. You just have to pass on the coefficients. In MATLAB, for example, you can directly invert the matrix, okay, and find the solution. So MATLAB has its own inbuilt solution algorithm for matrix inversion. In Fortran or other cases also, you can use some library for matrix inversion, or you can write your own program for matrix inversion. Okay. So what we have discussed, let us try to extend that now for unsteady one-dimensional conduction problem. Okay. Till now we have tackled steady state conduction problem with source term. Okay, we will add one more term, the unsteady part. The convective part is somewhat more tricky to add, which we will do in the subsequent classes. That is the next chapter that we will tackle. But ultimately, even with the convective term also, we will finally write all the equations in the exact same form, like what we have shown here. Okay, we will just write in this same form with the convective terms also. So ultimately, our solution algorithm that we develop will be same whether we have unsteady term, steady state equation, unsteady equation, convection equation, or diffusion equation. Does not matter. Okay, it was only that the coefficient values will be different. So this is again not very difficult to tackle. So for unsteady one-dimensional heat conduction equation, we will have one more term, rho Cp dou T dou T. Okay. So this is again just representing the general unsteady term. If you have, instead of T, if you have any variable phi, we can just write rho dou phi dou T. Okay. So Cp may not be there, some other things may be there, but ultimately you know how, like, it will be some function like dou phi dou T. So this equation now we have to integrate in finite volume method, because now we have a partial derivative with respect to T also. Now we need to integrate both with respect to X and with respect to T. Okay. Previously we had integrated just with respect to X, but now we will integrate both with respect to X and with respect to T. Okay. In both the directions, with time and with space. So if this is our geometry for this grid point P, again the same thing which we have studied multiple times. The control volume goes from small w to small e, has a length of delta x. The grid point is P. Its adjacent grid points are denoted by E and W, capital E and capital W. And the distance between adjacent grid points is delta xc and delta x w, delta x small a and delta x small w. Okay. So now integrating for this control volume from small w to small e, okay, rho Cp small w to small e. So with respect to space as well as with respect to time. So time, we going from a certain time to the next time step. Okay. So going from time t, say we know the values at time t. So going from time t to the next time step, t plus delta t. Okay. Again, let us go back to our finite difference algorithm. If you don't remember, just go back to this later on after the class. You will see that for finite difference method also, we had considered something like this. In the x direction, we had some equation, means some discretization form, and in the time direction, we had some marching. Okay, time marching, and each gap in the time direction is nothing but the time step, what we call as time step delta t. Okay, so if we know the value at some time t, we are trying to find the value at some time t plus delta t. Okay. And we had seen different types of algorithm for the finite difference method: explicit approach, implicit approach, and semi-implicit Crank-Nicolson scheme also we have seen. Okay, explicit, implicit, and semi-implicit scheme. Basically, where we had defined whether to find the values just based on the previous time step value, which is the explicit scheme, whether to find the new value just based on the new time step values, which is the implicit scheme, or whether to take into account both the previous time step values as well as the new time step values, which is the semi-implicit Crank-Nicolson scheme. Okay, and we have discussed that any scheme which is not explicit can in general be called as implicit scheme, because the solution becomes tricky. You cannot have marching type of solution. You need to directly solve the set of equations. In that case only we have found this, we had gone through this solution algorithm where we had this matrix form and we needed to invert the matrix. Okay, for the Crank-Nicolson scheme, same thing can be derived for the implicit scheme also. Okay. So let us come back to this finite volume method. In this case also, let us think that we know the values at time equal to t, and we are trying to find the value at time equal to t plus delta t. Okay. So our time step goes from t to t plus delta t. So integrating from t to t plus delta t, and in the space direction we are integrating from w to east, means west to east. Dot T, rho Cp we are assuming constant, we are taking it out. If these are not constant, then they have to be correctly interpolated based on previous time step value and new time step value, like row of previous time step and row of new time step. Those things can be tackled later on. If they are constant, they can be taken out. So only dot T dt dx. Okay. Similarly, for the right hand side also you have this double integral, time going from t to t plus delta t and space going from x going from w to east. Okay. Dou x of k dou t dou x dx dt. Same thing for the source term, integration of time going from t to t plus delta t, x going from small w to small e, sc plus spt dx dt. Okay. So this is how we tackle our finite volume, right? Finite volume method. Previously we have not considered this time integration. Now we have this additional time integration. Okay. Now for this left hand side, what we are going to do, because we don't have any derivative with respect to x. Okay. Only derivative is with respect to time. So this x integral, we can just assume that whatever is the value at this point Tp into delta x. Okay. So this integration with respect to x will just give us this delta x, rho Cp delta x. Okay. And this integration with respect to time of this dou t dt. Okay. This just becomes equal to new value minus old value. Okay. Where Tp1 is the new value of temperature at time t plus delta t and Tp0 is the old value of temperature at time t. Is this clear? Tp1 is the new value at time t plus delta t. All the values at time t plus delta t we are going to denote by the superscript 1. All the values at time equal to t we are going to denote by the superscript 0. Okay. So 1 are unknown values because we don't know the values at time t plus delta t, and zeros are the known values because we know all the values at time t equal to t. Okay. So rho Cp delta x Tp1 minus Tp0. Tp0 is known value, Tp1 is unknown value. So this part we have already, we know how to tackle. Now the problem comes in denoting the right hand side. Okay. So let us keep this integral t to t plus delta t there intact, but integrate with respect to x. Okay. So with respect to x, we already know how to integrate. Previously we have done the same thing. Okay, it's the same thing. If you go back to your equation, like this, this form of the equation again, this is same thing with respect. If we integrate with respect to x, we will have this form of the equation, k dt dx at east minus k dt dx at the west, which can be tackled like this. Okay, so same thing we will do. Integration with respect to x gives us k small e, which is the interface conductivity, into t minus Tp. Okay. So right now we don't know whether this t is new t or old t. Okay. Let us just write in terms of general t. Okay. You don't know whether this t is new or old one. Okay. Whether this t1 or t0, we don't know. So let us write in terms of general t minus Tp by delta xc. Okay. This flux here can be written as minus kw Tp minus tw by delta xw into dt. Dt is still there. Okay. Similarly, for the source term, integrating with respect to x, we get sc into delta x plus spTp into delta x. Okay. So because we are assuming that there is no change that is occurring with respect to delta x. Okay. So this dx integral is easy into dt. Okay. Again, we don't know whether this Tp is new Tp or old Tp. Okay. Now there is a choice for us. Again, like previous case of finite difference method, we need to choose whether we will take all these t, Tp values on the right hand side to be known values like T0, Tp0, Tw0, okay, or whether we will take all these values as unknown values, T1, Tp1, Tw1, or some combination of known and unknown values. Okay. So we have to interpolate basically. this temperature T actually varies from time T to T plus T dash. Now it is up to us to decide whether we want to take the temperature at time T, whether we want to take the temperature at time T plus delta T, or some combination of T and T plus delta T. Okay. And depending on this, we will have our explicit, implicit, or Crank-Nicolson scheme for these various type of variations. Okay. In general, let us consider a weight factor F, similar to the weight factor W that we had considered in this case. If you go back to this case, it's the exactly same thing what we have done. We have considered a weight factor W in this case. Okay. This W is similar to this F. Okay. Here I am using the F notation because it is given in the book. We could have written W or omega also. For any temperature Tp, let us write this integral T to T plus delta T Tp dt as some function of the new temperature, so F into Tp1 plus 1 minus F into Tp0, okay, where F is between 0 and 1. So it is a function of new temperature and old temperature into delta T, okay, where F is a weight factor. Is this clear to you? Okay, so let me just show you once. Okay. So T can vary in different forms, right? T can vary in different forms, going from T to delta T. Okay. Say this is temperature T and this is the time direction T. Okay. And this is time T. This point is time T. Okay. Some point time T. We are proceeding along the time direction here. And this is T plus delta T. Okay. So there can be different variations. So at this point, temperature is Tp0. Okay. And at this point, temperature is Tp1. Okay. Tp0 is known because this is a time T. Tp1 is unknown. We don't know what is the variation between Tp0 and Tp1. Obviously, we don't know because that is part of this all. We cannot know. We can only assume some values in between. Temperature could vary like this. Okay, temperature could vary like this. Okay. Let me just. Diagram will be very approximate, but you will understand. Temperature could vary like this also. Or temperature can go something like this also. Means this case, this top line is most of the, or if you do an exaggerated manner, this top line goes like this. Okay, diagram is very difficult for me to draw in this. Means for most of the time step, the temperature is near the new time step value. Okay, for most of the time step, the temperature is near to the new time step value. For this type of variation, for most of the time step, the temperature is near to the old time step value. And in some case, if this linearly increase, the temperature is neither near to the new time step value, not near to the old time step value, but like a average of new and old time step values. Okay. So for which case explicit method will be useful, means known values we should use.
First, top curve. Explicit and down curve. Sir.
Down curve. So we will use the down curve for the explicit method because our approximation, temperature approximation will be more accurate if the temperature varies like this for the explicit method. For implicit method, it is most accurate if we have the temperature variation like this, and Crank-Nicolson method is most accurate if the temperature goes like this. However, it does not matter if we have very small time step. If the time step itself is very small, all the methods will give correct solution, right? Ultimately, because the variation in a small time step is not much. Okay, similar to some linear variation. And because you may not know the nature of the solution in between, we have already discussed this while discussing finite difference method. If you remember, you can go back to the recorded video also. We have discussed this in details, in which case to take explicit or implicit method, or what are the advantages, disadvantages of explicit, implicit, semi-implicit method. Okay, but in some cases you may have an understanding. Many physical processes have an exponential type of variation, or a this type, means logarithmic or like inverse exponential type of variation. What happens is that the process starts very fast. Okay, heat transfer starts very fast, but gradually with time it tries to reach a steady state value, slows down with time. Okay, like this type of temperature variation is there. So in that case, it is more like the implicit type of thing. Okay, if a source term is there, which is a function of temperature, we can get an exponential type of variation, like a reaction, chemical reaction is occurring. Okay. However, remember that all these schemes will be acceptable if delta t is sufficiently small. Okay, it does not matter, but physically there is a meaning of these schemes. Okay. So anyway, let us come back to this. So in general, I can write using some weight factor f, t plus t to like Tp dt, any temperature Tp going from t to delta t. So Tp dt is equal to, means that integral equal to f into Tp1 plus 1 minus f Tp0 into delta t. Delta t is the time step, is this distance. Okay. So what we are doing, we are finding the area below this curve. Okay. Either we are taking the area as approximation like this area below this, or this area below this, or like this area. Is it clear to you what I am saying? We are trying to find the area below this Tp dt curve. This is the Tp dt curve, right? Tp is varying with time. So this is the integration of Tp dt curve. So instead of actually taking the curve, we are either taking this value below this line for the explicit scheme, or below this line for the implicit scheme, total area, or below this linear, like with the line with this linear slope for this Crank-Nicolson scheme. Okay. It does not matter. You try to think about it after the class. Okay. So now I can write all the equations. I can write all these terms by using this type of weight factor. Okay. So for example, t, integration of t from t to t plus delta t, I can write as f into T1 plus 1 minus f into T0 into delta t. Okay. Similarly, Tp you can write like this, and Tw also you can write like this. If you do this, so I am not doing it. If you can try this, practice this later on, you will get this equation. Okay, I will just lower this size once, just to show that, or what we can do is we can keep this equation open in another slide. We will take a break after this. Okay, we are thinking about a break. Let us finish this part. This is the equation. Okay, this looks very small. Maybe I can increase the size somewhat. Why it is increasing so small? Okay, anyway. So this T we are replacing by f into T1 plus 1 minus f into T0. Similarly, Tp, all the Tp's we are replacing by f into Tp1 plus 1 minus f into Tp0 into delta t. Means the integral is there, so we are replacing by delta t. So this will give us this equation. Left hand side is still same, rho Cp delta x by this right hand side, whatever delta t was generated, we have taken to the left hand side. Okay, this delta t. So delta x by delta t, Tp1 minus Tp0. On the right hand side, we have all the f terms we can put together. F into Ke T1 minus Tp1 by delta xc minus Kw Tp1 minus Tw1 by delta xw. All the f terms. Okay. Similarly, all the 1 minus f terms will have K T0 minus Tp0 by delta xc minus Kw Tp0 minus Tw0 by delta xw. Okay. So just separately writing the f and 1 minus f terms. Similarly, for the source term also you can write this. Sc into delta x is still same. Sc delta x delta t has gone to the other side. SP delta x into TP. This TP again you can write as F into TP1 plus 1 minus F into TP0. Okay. So we have two terms here. So this is the general form of the discretized equation. Okay. This we can write as AP TP, okay, equal to AE F into T. So this one terms I am just going to ignore this one, okay, and like wherever this one coefficient is there, superscript is there, we'll just write them as, we will just remove the superscript, okay, because these are the unknown terms. We are just writing the unknown terms as the current variable, okay. So TP1 we are writing as TP, okay. Similarly, T1 we are writing as T, and TW1 we are writing as TW, because these are the unknown terms which we are trying to find. So we are just removing the superscript. Okay. Till now we were using the superscript to understand better that we are varying from 0 to 1, but now we will just remove them because we know that these are the unknown terms. For the previous time step value terms, we are using the superscript 0. Okay. So APTP is equal to AE F into T. Okay. So F into T, what is this F into T? F into T means coefficient of, means A has this coefficient, okay, Ke by delta Xc, plus this term will also come 1 minus F Ke by delta Xc, so 1 minus F into AE, okay, AE is Ke by delta Xc, so 1 minus F into T is 0. Similarly, all the other terms also you can write. Again, this is just algebraic manipulation, you can do it. It might seem tricky to you right now, but once you write this, you will just see that this step just flows from this step, okay, it's just rearranging. Okay, I will just keep this open here. Okay, so AW also, and all the other terms which has TP0 we can take to the right hand side. So one term will be there, rho Cp delta X delta T. Similarly, we have this TP0 term from this one and this one. Okay, so 1 minus F AE and 1 minus F AW. These are also TTP0 terms that comes, and all these SC known source terms also we can keep in the right hand side, SC into delta X.
Sir, AP not, sir.
Tell me.
AP not, sir. That term, third component, first term, sir.
Yes, I will come to that. Okay.
Okay.
AP naught term is rho Cp delta X by delta T. Okay, I have written here. Okay, so AP naught is, just for writing it easily, we are writing it as rho Cp delta X by delta T as AP naught. Okay, why we are writing it as AP naught? Because this is known term. Rho is known, Cp is known, delta X and delta T are known. Okay, so if you write this as AP naught, okay, so what will happen? Actually, I am not able to write here. If you write it on the board or if you write it on your paper, you will see that if you take this TP naught term to the other side, you have this coefficient AP naught, okay, for this TP naught as a positive. So AP naught is there, and then two negative coefficients of TP0 on the right hand side. One negative coefficient is minus Ke by delta Xc, 1 minus F. So remember, Ke by delta Xc is AE, okay. So minus 1 minus F AE, and the second one is minus 1 minus F AW. So the total coefficient of TP0 on the right hand side is AP naught, which we have discussed as rho Cp delta X by delta T, minus 1 minus F AE minus 1 minus F AW. Okay, this is all the
And
terms here. Tell me.
on the left hand side, AP is also rho Cp delta X by delta T, no, sir.
AP is rho Cp delta X by delta T, plus these terms will also come, right?
Okay. That's Ke by delta X. And
Yes, that will also come.
okay.
So we will write that. Okay. So, but these terms are known, right? The coefficients of TP0 is known. AE and AW into these terms, you understand hopefully. A into F into T. Okay. So this F into Ke by delta Xc. Ke by delta Xc is AE. Okay. So F into AE into T dash is T. Similarly, 1 minus F Ke by delta Xc K by delta XC is AE. So AE into 1 minus F, T is 0. Okay. Same thing for AW. Okay. So again, all these terms are known, but T and TW are not known. Okay. T and TW are unknown, but all the coefficients and F and AE values are known. Okay. Only unknowns are T and TW. For this TP, what are the coefficients for TP? One coefficient is AP0. And then you have to bring F into K by delta XC. So F into AE, and similarly you have another one F into AW. Okay. So F into AE plus F into AW plus AP0 plus one coefficient also comes from this source term. Okay. Minus F into SP delta X. Minus F into SP delta X. Okay. From this source term. This is also current time value, right? So AP is also written in terms of some known values. F into AE. So all the coefficients are known. AE is known, AW is known, AP0 is known, and AP is also known. Okay. Only unknown in this equation is TP, TE, and TW. All the old values are also known. T0, TW0, and TP0. So how will we write this equation in the subsequent step? We'll take all these T0, TW0, and TP0 terms in the source term B. Okay. So we'll write this as AP dash TP or something like that, equal to APTP equal to AET plus AWTW plus B. Same form that we have written initially. Same form like this form. Okay. APTP equal to AET plus AWTW plus B. But this B will have all these terms. B will have this term. B will also have this term. Plus all these known terms. T0, TW0, all these terms will be part of B. Okay. So ultimately everything is known in B. And only the unknown terms, F into AE comes as AE dash, F into AW comes as AW dash, and AP comes as AP dash or whatever you can write. So again, it is the exact same form as the previous discretized equation, and you can express this in the matrix form that we have studied today. Okay. So we can express that in this form. So now, is this clear to everyone? You just try to write it on your own and try to find that. You will see that you arrive at the same solution. Okay. It's just we are just rearranging the terms. Okay. So what you need to do is you need to replace all these terms here by this type of equation and then rearrange the terms to get this. It's not difficult. For explicit scheme, F we have to take as 0. Means there is no dependence on the current time step. All the dependence is on the previous time step. For fully implicit scheme, we need F equal to 1. Crank-Nicolson scheme, F equal to 0.5. We can even take any other value, F equal to 0.3, F equal to 0.7. Okay, it's up to us to decide what method we use. Generally we use explicit, implicit, or full Crank-Nicolson scheme. Okay, explicit, fully implicit, or Crank-Nicolson scheme. For any scheme which is not explicit, you will get this type of matrix. Like what I have shown here, this type of matrix. If it is fully explicit scheme, what will happen? All the terms will be known on the right hand side. Only unknown term will be TP, and you can directly calculate the TP value. Like you will proceed like a time marching. Okay, that we have discussed for the finite difference algorithm. Is this clear what I said about the explicit scheme? What will happen
Yes,
to this equation? This is the equation, general equation, right? If it is an explicit scheme, F is 0. So this term is 0, this term is 0. Okay.
all RHS unknown part will be gone.
Oh yes. So all the terms in RHS are known. Unknown parts are gone. Okay. So everything is known. So directly TP can be calculated in one step based on the previous values. Okay. So and for fully implicit scheme, 1 minus F terms are 0. So these terms are 0. All the 1 minus F terms are 0. And your equation will look like APTP is equal to AET plus AWTW plus AP0 TP0. This term is there. These two terms are not there. Plus SC into delta X. Okay. Again the same form, but the coefficients are different. Any other implicit scheme means semi-implicit. Any other type of semi-implicit scheme like Crank-Nicolson or any other value also will lead to some APTP plus some value AET plus AWTW like this form. So some matrix form will be there. Okay. Let us stop here for 5 minutes and we will continue this discussion after 5 minutes. Okay. Okay, let us continue. Okay. Any questions what we have discussed till now? Please refer to the. Can you hear me, students?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
When you are studying this part, please refer to the finite difference method also what we have discussed. Okay, you have already studied for the exam, but this is similar, actually same thing for the explicit, Crank-Nicolson and implicit, and we have also discussed in details about the different aspects of implicit and explicit method. I think we have discussed somewhere, we have discussed, right? Yes, advantages, disadvantages, explicit, implicit. Same thing holds true here. It does not depend on whether it is finite difference or finite volume method. All the stability and everything, same thing holds true here. Okay, whatever we have discussed for the finite difference method, same thing is still valid for finite volume method. It's the same explicit, implicit, or Crank-Nicolson scheme. Ultimately, it's a matter of how you are arriving at the discretized equation, whether using finite difference or finite volume, then you will just pass on the equation to the solver. So for f equal to 0, we find explicit scheme. For f equal to 1, our equation evolves into implicit, fully implicit scheme, and for f equal to 0.5, it evolves into Crank-Nicolson scheme. Okay. Let us take one case to try to understand that explicit method. You can try all the, you can obviously put the value of f0, 1 or 0.5 and find any of the equations, because this is the general equation. But something important or interesting is there for the explicit scheme. What we have considered previously, that there is a limit to the time step. Means you cannot take the time step to be arbitrarily large for explicit scheme. Otherwise, the scheme becomes unstable. Okay, this we have discussed previously. If you go back to your notes, somewhere delta t needs to be sufficiently small depending on the value of delta x, needs to satisfy stability criteria. Okay, and we have seen also some values, how means how the delta t varies with delta x square. Means delta t should be less than some function of delta x square. Means if the delta x decreases by 2 times, delta t has to be decreased by 4 times. Okay, it is proportional to delta x square. Let us try to see from this finite volume method perspective, the same thing we can see in a different way. Okay, so for this we will take one example, one dimensional unsteady heat conduction equation without any source term, okay, with s equal to 0. Just for, so with source term also there is no problem, but this is just to understand this part, the stability part better. Extra terms we have just removed. So rho Cp delta t equal to, means dou t equal to dou x of k dou t dou x. Okay. For explicit scheme f equal to 0. So in this general equation, write f equal to 0. So what will you get for f equal to 0? Ap is equal to, so f equal to 0 means this term is 0, this term is 0, this term also is 0. So only ap 0. So ap is equal to ap 0, where ap 0 is equal to rho Cp delta x by delta t. Okay. What about the other terms? F is 0, so this term is not present, and this 1 minus f becomes equal to 1. Okay. So 1 minus f becomes equal to 1. So we have AE into 1 into T is 0. So AE into 1 into T is 0. Similarly, AW into 1 into TW 0. Okay. So APTP is equal to AE into T 0 plus AW into TW 0 plus AP 0. This 1 minus f is equal to 0. So 1 minus f equal to 1. So minus AE minus AW TP 0. Okay. This is our equation. APTP is equal to AE T 0 plus AW TW 0 plus AP 0 minus A minus AW by TP 0. Obviously, this can be directly calculated. You can directly calculate based on this, means because all these values are known. Okay. So for our finite volume perspective, what we had discussed previously, one of the rule was that all the coefficients needs to be of same sign, and by convention we are taking them as positive. Okay. So AP is anyway positive because AP is nothing but AP 0, and AP0 is rho Cp delta x by delta t. So all terms has to be positive. Rho Cp delta x delta t has to be positive. So AP is positive. Okay. AE obviously has to be positive. Ke by delta xc. AW has to be positive. So only problem may come if AP0 minus AE minus AW is not positive. Okay. So for all coefficients to be positive, this AP0 minus AE minus AW needs to be greater than 0. Otherwise, it may lead to some unphysical result. For example, the influence of TP0 might be opposite. Means if this term is negative, higher TP0 means lower TP value, which should not be true. Means higher previous time temperature value means current temperature value also should be higher. But if this term becomes negative, it may lead to some unphysical results. Okay. So this has to be positive, as we have discussed also previously. So AP0 has to be greater than AE plus AW. Okay. So assuming K constant and delta x means all the control volumes of equal width, delta x equal to delta x equal to delta xw. Okay. If you don't remember delta xw, delta xc, these are the lengths. So if all the control volumes are of same width and the grid points are at the center, delta x becomes equal to delta xc equal to delta xw. Okay. All these distances are same. Means length of a control volume is equal to the spacing between the grid points. So assuming this, now AP0 is equal to what? Rho Cp delta x by delta t, Ke by delta xc. If K is constant, it is equal to K by delta x, and Kw by delta xw, that is also K by delta x. Okay. So rho Cp delta x by delta w, delta t needs to be greater than 2K by delta x. Okay. So which if you rearrange and take delta t to the other side, you will find that delta t needs to be less than rho Cp delta x square by 2K. Okay. This is the condition that needs to be satisfied so that this term is positive, so that we get physical solution, okay, or stable solution. Okay. This is similar to what we have discussed previously. Okay. That delta t is proportional to delta x square. So from this also we can see that we get the similar similar condition. The delta t needs to be some lower than some function of delta x square. So if you reduce the delta x by 2 times, your delta t needs to be reduced by 4 times so that the solution remains stable. Okay. So if you have 100 grid points and you change the mesh to 200 grid points, so dt you have to reduce by 4 times for solving the problem using explicit method. This is only true for explicit method. For implicit method, there is no condition like this. Okay, it is only true for explicit method. You can try to find out for a fully implicit method what is the form of the equation. Just a matter of putting the values of f equal to 1. Okay, and finding the value. So I have left that. Even for Craig-Nicholson also you can try to find. So there is no point in writing all these parts. This is just matter of replacing the value of f and finding the equation. Okay. So before moving into the next chapter or next part, not next chapter, next part, which is how to solve these discretized equations. Till now we are just thinking about how to discretize the equations. But once the discretization is done, once the coefficients are known, we need to also solve the discretized equations, right? Like by inversion of matrix or some other method or some iterative method. So before going to that, we'll just finish this part by considering also what happens when we have 2-dimensional or 3-dimensional problems. So I will just show you the solution for a 2-dimensional equation. For 3-dimensional, you can do on your own as an exercise problem. Okay, just an extension of the 1D problem. Let me just show you the case for a 2D problem. Okay. We'll keep this diagram open for later. Or because we need this as a reference. Any question about what we have discussed till now? Unsteady part?
No.
It should be clear. Just when you read this, you just again read back the the finite difference method, where we have discussed in details the unsteady part. Okay. So time marching and all this. So exactly same thing is also true for finite volume method. It's just the method of discretization is different. So for a two-dimensional unsteady heat conduction equation, the heat conduction equation can be written like this, okay, with source term. Rho Cp dou T is equal to dou x of k dou T dou x plus dou y of k dou T dou y plus the source term S. S can be Sc into SPTP or whatever, means it can be non-linear also. We don't bother with this now because we know how to linearize it and take the SPTP term into account and constant term into account. For a three-dimensional equation also we will have same form, rho Cp dou T. These two terms will be there, one additional term will be there, dou z of k dou T dou z plus source term. Okay, that is the only difference in the equation. Okay. Only term missing is the convective term. Otherwise, all the terms are present now in this diffusion equation, means unsteady diffusion equation with source term. So for a two-dimensional equation, our grid structure will look like this. Okay. So in the x direction, we have the grid points W, capital P, capital E like this. And in the y direction, we have grid points capital S, capital P and capital N. Okay, this is west, east, south and north. Convention is that in a three-dimensional case, the other two grid points are known as top and bottom. Okay, T and B. You can take anything, but the convention is that they are taken as T and B, top and bottom. Okay, top is outside the plane of your monitor or screen. Okay, and bottom is inside the plane of your monitor or screen. The top and bottom is outside the plane of your monitor and inside the plane of your monitor. Okay, in the third dimension, if it is a 3D problem. I am saying this because you can easily extend this 2D to 3D also. Now this control volume is a two-dimensional control volume instead of a one-dimensional control volume. It can be a rectangular or square control volume, and it extends from small w interface to small e interface in the x direction, and in the y direction it extends from small s interface to small n interface. If this is a three-dimensional problem, it will extend from small b interface to small t interface. Okay, in the third direction, in the z direction. So length of the control volume along the x direction is delta x in general. Along the y direction is delta y. Okay. We can take delta x equal to delta y, or in a general problem this can be rectangular. So delta x need not be equal to delta y. It can be different also. Means the aspect ratio need not be equal to 1. Okay. It can be more in the flow direction or across the flow direction depending on the situation, or across the heat transfer direction or along the heat transfer direction. Then in general, this distance between the grid points, we know that we can write as delta xc, small delta xc and small delta xw between the grid points P and D and P and W. Similarly, along the y direction between grid points S and P, we can write as small delta y s, and along like difference between P and N, we can write as small delta y n. Okay. So this is our nomenclature for the 2D problem. Okay. The actual control volume lengths are capital delta x, capital delta y, and this distance between these grid points is small delta x, small delta y, s and n, and e and w. Okay. Means delta is capital and in this case delta is small. Otherwise it's the same. And this is the entire area of the control volume. So now what we need to do for this case, I have not written it here, I have kept it as an exercise. But what will you do in this case? If this is the equation, let us go back to our. If it was a 1D equation, what did we do in that case? For this domain, we integrated from W to E, from T to T plus delta T for all the terms. Here we have to integrate from W to E. Okay, for this we are integrating for this control volume P, right? From W to E, dx from S to N, dy, and T to delta T dt. Okay, So all the terms will become like this. So let me write the first term, then you will know the other terms how to write. Okay. I am not doing it because you should practice on your own these things, and also to save time because it's just a repetition of what we have discussed. So if we have this first term, rho Cp dot T. Okay. So now we have three integrals. Okay. One integral going from T to delta T, T to T plus delta T. Second one going from small w to small e, and third one going from small s to small n. Okay. This, if rho Cp is constant, we can take out rho Cp and we can write this as, sorry, here we have to write dt, dx and dy. Okay. So this will become equal to delta x, delta y. Then what will be there? Tp1 minus Tp0 delta t. Something like that will be there if you go back to this equation. This first term, if you integrate, now we have one more integral going from north to south. And dt, dx and dy. So after integration, we will have rho Cp, delta x, delta y, Tp1. This delta t will come later on. Okay, this delta t is not there. Okay, see, this by mistake I have written. Right now there is no delta t. Okay, so this will be the term. Tp1 minus Tp0, rho Cp delta x, delta y, Tp1 minus. So all the other equations also you can write in this form. Okay. So when the equations have derivatives k delta, the derivatives are of this form. Please try to do this on your own. Okay, k dt dx of this form, the derivatives are there. Okay, and you are integrating with respect to east to west, south to north, t to t plus dt. Okay. So the only variation is along the x direction. Okay. For the y direction, what will happen? So we have dx, dy,
Delta y.
delta y will come into picture. Okay. So only delta y will come into picture. So what we are assuming is that for this control volume, the flux along the x direction is same whether it is at this point, means along the entire delta y, the flux is same along the x direction. Okay. So basically minus k dt dx into delta y is the overall flux over the central length. Okay. Same for the other direction. In this direction, it will be minus k dt dy delta x. So over the central length, this is the flux. Okay. So delta x, delta y, this type of terms will come into picture. Okay. So once you do that, I will again go back to this diagram, keep this open. Okay. You will have coefficients instead of what were the previous coefficients looking like? Previous coefficients is this. Reduce the size. Previous coefficients are terms like ke by delta xc. A was ke by delta xc. Now A will have ke by delta x into delta y. Okay, AW is equal to kw by delta xw into delta y. Similarly, we will have two more coefficients. An is equal to kn by delta yn into delta x. As is equal to ks by delta ys into delta x. And other terms will be similar. Okay, this is for the fully implicit scheme. Assuming f equal to 1, you can write for the f equal to 0 also, means explicit scheme, or Crank-Nicolson, or for general f also. You can try to find out what is the general form of the equation. So only difference is that there are more additional neighboring terms. Instead of two neighboring terms, we have four neighboring terms. So equation will become like APTP equal to AET plus AWTW plus ANTN plus ASTS plus B. Okay. where these coefficients also have, so X type of coefficients have delta Y type of terms and Y type of coefficients have delta X type of terms. Okay. In 3D also you can extend this. In this case, we will have 6 coefficients: AET plus AWTW plus ANTN plus ASTS plus ATTT plus ABTB. Okay, top and bottom. And each of the coefficients, for the X direction coefficient, we will have K into delta Y delta Z by delta XC. Similarly, AN will be Kn by delta Yn into delta X delta Z, like this. So the entire area will be there. In this case, the area is line. For 3D, the area is the entire face area. Okay. So the entire flux over the face we have to calculate. It's just energy balance basically. Remember that finite volume method, basically we are deriving the overall integral balance, means conservation of energy in this case, or conservation of any property. So same thing actually also is represented by the discretized equation. So otherwise the form of the equation will be exactly similar, and you will just need to pass on the value of the coefficients to the solver. So instead of this simple type of term, like 3 values, now you will have 5 values. Okay, one AP and then AE, AW, AN and AS for 2D and 7 values for 3D. Okay, each equation will have 7 values for 3D and 5 values for 2D. So this type of matrix for 1D is known as tridiagonal matrix because there are 3 diagonals which are present, all the other terms are 0. It will become a pentadiagonal matrix for 2D and heptadiagonal matrix for 3D. Okay, 7 diagonals are present. So otherwise the equations are similar. It's just a matter of how the coefficients are calculated. So I am leaving this as an exercise for you. First, try to find for the 2D case the explicit scheme, like what will be the values of for the explicit scheme, and for the Crank-Nicolson scheme also you can try for practice. And for the 3D case also the different schemes, what will be the coefficients. Okay, these are the values are given in the book. In the book also they have not derived, only the values are given, you can compare. Or it will be just like, even by looking at the solution you can say what will be the values for fully implicit scheme. Means AE will be KE delta Y delta Z by delta XC, AW will be KW delta Y delta Z by delta XW. Similarly AN and AS. Directly by looking at this I can say what will be the value for 3D implicit scheme. Okay, AP0 will be equal to rho Cp delta X delta Y delta Z by delta T. Similarly, V will be equal to SC into delta X delta Y delta Z plus AP0 TP0, and this AP term will have AE plus AW plus AN plus AS plus AB plus AT plus AP0 minus SP delta X delta Y delta Z. So just by looking at it you can say what should be the coefficients for 3D, but you can also try to derive on your own. So there is not much time left today. I was planning to actually go to the next part before going to the next chapter, which is numerical solution of the linear algebraic equations. Okay. So till now what we have seen for finite difference or finite volume method, how to find the discretized equation, means how to find all the coefficients and how to form the matrix. And even if you don't know any method, you know that at least you can just use matrix inversion, like what we have shown for the finite difference scheme here. Like I can write this as A into T is equal to B, and I can write T is equal to A inverse B or something like that. Okay, directly using some program I can find the value of T. Okay, but there are better methods for this, and that this direct metric inversion is very inefficient. Okay, so we are going to study a few methods for this for finding this values of temperature when the coefficients, all the coefficients are known, all this matrix coefficient matrix is known, and this coefficient vector is also known. Okay, this we will start in the next class, but before going to that I will just finish this discussion by giving a brief intro. Okay, so for this numerical solution of this linear algebraic equation, why linear algebraic equation? Because after discretization we have obtained a set of linear algebraic equations. We have obtained a set of algebraic equations as I have shown here. Okay. So all these equations A1 T1 is equal to A2 T2 plus B1 like this. For n grid points, we have n equations. Okay. And n unknowns. N equations and n unknowns. So we have n equations and n unknowns, and we want to find the unknowns. Okay. So there are different types of methods for this. Okay. There can be direct method. One direct method we are going to study, which is known as Thomas algorithm or tridiagonal matrix algorithm, TDMA, which is very efficient method. Okay. Then you can use Gaussian elimination also, like one type of matrix inversion basically, or directly invert the matrix, which are very inefficient, takes lot of time for solving. However, these direct methods like this TDMA method is not suitable for 2D or 3D problem. It cannot be directly utilized, it has to be modified. So for 2D or 3D type of equation, we will see some iterative methods like Jacobi method, Gauss-Seidel method, and line by line TDMA method. All these are iterative methods. Okay, and we can directly use Gaussian elimination also for 2D and 3D, but it is very slow again, like direct matrix inversion. Okay, these we will study later. In the first class, actually, I have wrongly written. Where is the first class syllabus? Somewhere I have. I had written these topics. Okay, so we have actually gone through these topics: PD, finite difference, finite volume, interface. So we are going through this part. Gaussian elimination is actually direct method. I don't know, hurriedly I had written at that time. It's not iterative method. Okay, it's a direct method. You can just read about Gaussian elimination. It's a very standard method of matrix inversion, means calculation. Okay, so all the other methods are iterative methods, but Gaussian elimination is a direct method. Okay, today I was just going through that part. While making this, at that time I noticed that I have wrongly written this Gaussian elimination part. Okay. So in the next class we will start with this tridiagonal matrix algorithm, which is only valid for 1D equation. 1D equation, what is the feature of 1D type of equation? Just now we have discussed. For 1D equation we have three coefficients, AE, AW and AP. Okay. So we have only three diagonals that are present. All the other values in the matrix are 0. Okay. This type of matrix is known as a tridiagonal matrix. Okay. Because it is most of the values are 0, instead of directly trying to solve this by matrix inversion, we can have much more efficient algorithms, like we are going to discuss in the next class, this TDMA method, where we can get the solution much faster because of the specific property that only three diagonals have values, all the other diagonals have 0 values. If it becomes a 2D problem, our tridiagonal nature of the matrix is lost. You will have 5 diagonals with values and the other values will be 0. If it is a 3D problem, you will have 7 diagonals with values. Okay. So although those also can be optimized, but you cannot use the tridiagonal matrix algorithm for those cases. Okay, as we will see later. But still this can be optimized, but will not be as efficient as tridiagonal matrix algorithm. What we will see is that this tridiagonal matrix algorithm, the time that is required, the number of calculations is proportional to the number of grid points n. So if you divide the domain into 100 grid points and you take say one minute to solve that problem, if you divide the domain to 200 grid points, the time required will be 2 minutes. Okay. So if you, instead of 100 grid points, if you have 1000 grid points, to increase the accuracy, your time required will be increased from 1 minute to 10 minutes. Okay. It is linearly proportional. It is the number of calculations is equal to the order of n, number of divisions, number of grid points. While for normal type of solution like Gaussian elimination or matrix inversion, the number of operations is proportional to n cube, the number of grids to the power 3. Okay. So if it takes 1 minute for 100 grid points, for 1000 grid points it will take because now 10 times number of grid points has increased. 10 cube time means the time will increase by 10 cube times. Okay, instead of 1 minute, it will take 1000 minutes. Okay, so you can see how drastic the change is. Like how beneficial is TDMA as compared to normal matrix inversion or normal Gaussian elimination. If you have large number of grid points, this scales very well. Okay, this TDMA method as compared to other type of methods. So we will continue this discussion in the next class. Okay, and we will go through the other types of methods. Once you know how to implement this TDMA, then I will give I can give the assignment now also, but it should involve solution using TDMA. So, or we can try to give one assignment where there is simple matching type of solution for explicit method. Later you can try to implement TDMA because that will help you to learn this much better. So we'll stop here. Any questions up to this point? I will take the attendance.
No,
Next class is Friday. I will try my best to give the marks on Friday. Okay. Generally, I give within 1 or 2 weeks, but this time due to the different reasons, it is getting much delayed. I got the copies also quite late, but it is also delayed from my side. Even the gas turbine also I'm trying to show on Thursday, but let me see. Checking is taking more time in this online mode.